Well, it's fuck o'clock in the morning and we are back at it again, guys. We have Detective Inspector Lucy Cat here with us today. Welcome to another true crime story time, where I tell you one true crime case that was solved using forensic science, all while doing, that's right, my makeup. Today's video will be featuring the At Forest Sights palette from Raw Beauty Kristi and Colourpop. This was released a while ago. I'll leave a link to the other look I created with this palette right here somewhere on the screen. All the other products I'm using in this video will be linked in the description below. My saliva just got really thick there. It's early, guys. It's early. What can I say? All the other products I'm using in this video will be linked in the description below. Please read the disclaimer. I am not a professional forensic pathologist, nor am I a professional makeup artist. I'm just the average girl at home like you, planning my makeup. Sometimes I do my nails while I talk about a true crime case. So if that's something you're into, then you are more than welcome to stick around and hit the subscribe button. Also, quick reminder, the comment section is a privilege. Don't fuck it up. Now let's get into today's case. This all takes place in 1993 in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, specifically the Metroplex area, where 38-year-old recently divorced Stephen Robards lived. Robards. I have to really try to articulate for that because I want to say robots. Don't kill me in the comments, okay? Or anywhere else for that matter. Thank you. Stephen was a Texas native who worked as a mailman for the U.S. Postal Service. Stephen was very proud of his job and he loved the area he worked in. He was very good at his job. Everyone knew him and loved him. I love mailmans and mail ladies and delivery people because they bring my packages. Mailmen and mailwomen has to be the most beloved people in this world. Well, at least for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Probably. I know. It's true. It's true, sadly. So yes, Stephen was really proud of his job. He was really good at it and he loved the area that he worked in. It was a really nice area. He had recently moved to that area after being divorced from his wife. Stephen had just started his new life after being divorced. He was in a new relationship with another woman that he was in love with, and he had just started getting situated in Texas. He shared custody of his 16-year-old daughter, Marie, with his ex-wife. And Marie had recently moved in with him and his new girlfriend. Now, Marie, she had recently gotten into a fight with her mother because Marie was not getting along with her mother's new boyfriend. Marie loved her mother a lot. You know, and all Marie really wanted from her mom was her attention and her affection. Sadly, her mother gave that attention and affection to other men. Now, don't get me wrong. Her mother deserves to find love and to be loved as well. You know, she has her life as well. But when you have a kid, you also have to think about that too. So at the time, Marie was not getting along with her mother's then boyfriend. And her mom ended up getting into a massive fight. And the mom sent Marie to live with her father, Stephen. Obviously, Marie resented this. Marie was a very intelligent teenager who attended Eastern Hills High School. In addition to getting straight A's, Marie was also one of the most popular girls in school. She was very beautiful. She was very vivacious. She was bright. She was intelligent. All the boys liked her and wanted to talk to her. Everybody wanted to be her friend. She was funny. And Marie had a really good relationship with her father as well. They did a lot of things together. They went on a lot of trips. They did a lot of projects and stuff together. You know, Marie seemed to be the perfect all-around American girl at this time. Unfortunately, the divorce did take a toll on Marie, as divorce does on children. It's not an easy process. It's just not easy. So Marie did have, you know, some things left over from the divorce. But even with the divorce between her two parents, Marie still did very well. She still excelled. I just missed success with excelled. Excelled. That's a new word. We need to add that to the dictionary. Marie really excelled in her classes, and she was quite successful for for a child that had gone through divorce. It can be very difficult, but Marie was doing really well. Everything from the outside looked really, really good. On the evening of February 18th, 1993, after eating dinner, Stephen, Marie, and his girlfriend went to an evening mass. When they got back home from mass, Stephen started to complain that he wasn't feeling well, that he was feeling nauseous and he was feeling dizzy and he just was feeling out of it, that he was feeling really, really sick. Stephen was having really bad stomach cramps that wouldn't go away, just like me right now. Sounds like my period. And the pain just kept intensifying as the hours went by. So it got so intense that he had to lay down on the couch because he just couldn't walk anymore. He couldn't stand. He couldn't even sit up. He had to physically lay down on the couch. Obviously, at this point, his daughter and his girlfriend are very concerned for his well-being. And so they decide to call the paramedics. When paramedics arrive, they find Stephen laying on the couch in a coma-like state, foaming at the mouth, you guys. I think y'all need to take him to the ER right away. Within minutes of the ambulance arriving, Stephen had died. Stephen was taken to the morgue, and the coroner determined Stephen's cause of death as a heart attack. He said that Stephen's heart was mildly enlarged for a man his size and weight, which he believed could have caused the heart attack. It was said that his heart was about 25% larger than the normal size, but is that much larger? I don't feel like that's that much larger. But maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. So with this information, medical examiners ruled his death of natural causes. Medical examiners really did not know what to think as they were examining his body because while sure, a 38-year-old man who's otherwise healthy, I guess, could have complications and die from a mildly enlarged heart, but it's just very, very rare because his heart was only enlarged by 25%. So it was kind of odd. He was 38 and he didn't have any other health problems. The medical examiner that was working on him said that they were very skeptical with the evidence that they had, but there wasn't anything else there for them to go off of to make any sort of different determination or prognosis. So they just went with it being natural causes and heart attack because there wasn't really anything else. As you can imagine, his daughter Marie is absolutely distraught because her father, who she just moved in with, who they have a really good relationship, has now passed away. I mean, she had to go through the whole divorce thing, and now her father has passed away. Marie was not like having a good time. She was really going through it, but she pressed forward. After her father's death, Marie was sent to live with her grandparents and she was enrolled into Mansfield High School. Now, by all accounts, Marie was a really incredible young woman. She did really well with her grades. She kept everything up despite her father's passing. She was a really determined young woman, to say the least. She was also said to be a very sweet, kind girl. In addition to her being very intelligent, successful, and popular and all these things, using the inheritance money she had received from her father, Marie was able to attend the University of Texas after her graduation. Marie majored in pre-med and her goal was to become a pathologist. Now, this was something she had always wanted to do and looked into. Even back in high school, she was taking classes preparing for her pre-med major and to go into, pathology. At this time, Marie is a freshman in college and investigators decide to reopen her father's case because they just felt like something really wasn't right. Like I said, that medical examiner, he was skeptical from the start. Marie found out that they were revisiting her father's case and she was ecstatic about it. They now think that her father's death was suspicious. They are suspicious about the way her father died. A man his age with no other health issues outside of a mildly enlarged heart, all of a sudden dropping dead and having a heart attack and foaming at the mouth. And something was just really not right. Now, as we know, law enforcement always likes to cover the people that are closest to the victim first. Any love interest, partners, exes, family members, those are usually the first people that investigators will take a look at. So they take a look into Steven's ex-wife. They found out that Steven and his ex-wife were just two different people all together. They were just opposite people. And they really didn't go together. But they also didn't find anything that pointed to his ex-wife wanting to harm him or murder him or anything like that. So they then moved on to a different suspect. They also checked into his then girlfriend, and she was also cleared of any sort of suspicious behaviors or actions. The next person that would be close to Steven was his 16-year-old daughter, Marie, who was now 18 at the time and attending college. As investigators were looking into Steven's case, they found out that when Marie had transferred to Mansfield High School after her father's death, that she met a friend named Stacy. Marie and Stacy became really good friends. Actually, they were best friends. They were besties. During their time in school, the two girls were studying a Shakespearean play for one of their classes together. The Shakespearean play was Hamlet, and the two girls would read the play together. They would switch off, like one would read one character and then the other one would read the other character. Sitting in the library, and they are reading back and forth through this play. Then they get to Claudius Sollicue's part in Act 3, and Stacy is reading it at this time. So Stacy begins to read through the act, and Marie starts to act really strange. Now, Stacy is noticing that Marie is getting weird, but she also is thinking probably she's just really affected from the play, maybe she's really into the play and she's really affected. Now, in the monologue, Claudius is repenting of murdering his brother, which is Hamlet's father, and he's saying all of these things in the monologue. I'm not going to go over the monologue, y'all. Y'all can go check it out. But Stacy must have been a good actor because this was really starting to affect Marie. The words she was saying was really starting. She could see that Marie was physically reacting to this. As she was saying the last words of the monologue, Marie starts to break down crying. Stacy noticing something is up, so Stacy is like, at first she thinks that she's just affected by the play, by the words, and she's just a very sensitive girl, and she's just very much into the play and into the art of things, and she's just affected by that. But then she starts to think that something else is going on, and she asks Marie, is everything okay? Marie goes on to ask a very bizarre question. She asks Stacy if she believes that someone can go through life without a conscience. I mean, at this point, I would be looking at her like, what? We're 16 years old. And now remember, guys, at this point, the girls are in high school. They are 16, 17 years old. I mean, that's a very adult question, if you ask me. But then again, Marie was very intelligent. She was this type of thinker. So Stacy starts to ask her friend all these questions like, what's going on? Are you in trouble? Is it this? Is it that? And she's just going back and forth, asking her questions and quizzing her about what's going on. But Marie really isn't saying anything. She's just sitting there crying. Stacy thinks, oh, fuck, something must really be wrong. And, when you're 16, you're in high school. I mean, what's the biggest thing, that you could get in trouble for? What's the biggest thing that could be wrong that you can get in trouble for when you're a teenage girl in high school? So she asked Marie if she was pregnant. She's like, oh my God, you're pregnant. And Marie denies that. She says, no, she's not pregnant. That's not it. That's not what it is. So Stacy is like, well, if it's not that, then what is it? Did you like kill somebody? And Marie nods, yes. And she admits that she did kill someone. And so, can you imagine being Stacy? Marie then stands up in tears and she admits the unimaginable to Stacy, that she was the one who murdered her father. So, I mean, there wasn't that much investigative work that needed to be done here because Marie is going around telling friends and admitting stuff all over the place. She can't seem to keep her mouth shut. I mean, but she was a 16-year-old. What are the times coming to when your own 16-year-old daughter, you can't trust nobody. Nobody. I don't know about you guys, but I'm effing shocked. Like, I'm shocked. My mouth is like, what? Remember, I told you guys that Marie wanted to become a pathologist and that she had been studying pre-med in college. Even before she went to college, she had been studying and planning to become a pathologist. Girl, life trying to take me out. What's going on? Marie goes on to tell Stacy that a week before her father's death, she stole poison from her high school's chemistry lab. This was a highly intelligent young woman, okay? She was very knowledgeable. She knew the poisons that would be untraceable in a bodily system. So she says that she stole this poison, which we won't name because in the original Forensic Files TV series, they also would not name the poison because they didn't want it getting out. They just didn't want people, whack jobs trying to repeat this bizarre behavior. They didn't want to assist criminals. And I told you guys, I always think about that when I'm doing these cases and I'm explaining how the law enforcement figured it out and the poisons and the different things they used. I always feel like nervous that I might be in some way aiding the criminals in like committing these crimes. I'm definitely not. But I mean, that does cross my mind. Like, I don't know what it is. I can only speculate and guess. Okay. And you guys can speculate and guess in the comments if you wish. But yeah, I'm not going to say it here because one, I don't know. And two, I don't know. Now, when her teacher wasn't looking, Marie took the poison. She wrapped it in a cloth and hid it in her bag. You know what? When I was growing up, I didn't have privacy to do this type of stuff. I just didn't have the balls because my parents beat my ass. So I was too terrified to even think to do something like this. Like, even if the thought came to my mind, like, okay, there was no way I could go through with it because I was just somehow afraid that my parents were so much bigger than me and that they were going to come for me and beat my ass. Like, they would come for me from the grave and beat my ass. A week later, on February 18th, while the family was having dinner, they were having tacos, and Marie was put in charge of making the refried beans. As she was cooking the refried beans, she got her brilliant idea, which is actually an absolutely horrible idea, but at that time she thought it was brilliant. And she took the poison from her bag and she slipped it into the refried beans. Girl, refried beans are bad enough on the digestive system, on the body, okay? For you to go and put poison in it is like, you probably didn't even have to do that. Refried beans are bad enough. They're good to the taste. Like, I love to eat it, but girl, my body don't love it afterwards. So that's all I'm gonna say. So she's stirring the refried beans and she's looking around and she's like, this is my chance, And she starts just stirring. She then makes everybody's plates, ensuring that she doesn't put any of the poisoned refried beans on her plate or her father's girlfriend's plate. Just her father's plate, just Steven's plate. How considerate. Now, the autopsy never detected the poison in Steven's system because, again, this was an undetectable poison that we cannot mention, but you guys can probably guess. You can do your thing in the comments. After her confession to Stacy, Marie swore Stacy to never tell her deadly secret, which, if I was Stacy, my ass would have been telling everybody right away. I'd have been walking around like, Marie is killing people. But I can understand. You have to remember, like I said, these girls were in high school. They were very young, 16, 17. So, having a best friend and having a friendship was a really big deal. To find someone that you related to and was your best friend, that was a really big deal. So you didn't want to mess that up. You're a besties. So we ain't that good of besties, I tell you that. I will tell. I'm just letting you know. Stacy didn't want to send her best friend to prison, but also keeping a secret like this was very hard on her. As you can imagine, just imagine knowing your best friend killed someone, and not just someone, but their own father, and that this entire investigation is going on, and your friend is just going on with their life, and I don't know. That's a huge secret to keep. And she started to basically mentally deteriorate. She started having reoccurring nightmares. She would have these dreams where Steven, Stacy's father, would be chasing her down this dark street, calling after her and calling her name, and like, ruh-roh. That's all I have to say is ruh-roh. Things were getting really bad for Stacy. She wasn't doing well in school anymore. Her grades had dropped. She was acting really bizarre around her friends and family. Actually, she started to isolate herself from her friends and family. And when she would go out to these parties, and she started drinking very, very heavily at these parties, just getting wasted. Basically, because she had this massive secret that Marie had put on her. At some point, things were so bad for Stacy, like there were some dark days, that she asked her mother if she would commit her to a psychiatric ward because she just couldn't take it anymore. She was losing her mind. And at this point, nobody knew what the hell was going on with Stacy. They're like, why is Stacy all of a sudden just deteriorating? And mind you, Marie at this time is just going on with her life. She's doing really well in high school. She's still really popular, really beautiful, doing her thing. And she has gone on to college, and she's just doing really well. But Stacy is not. She's deteriorating, and deteriorating super duper fast. No one knew what was going on with Stacy. There was no way they could have been able to tell the lethal secret that she had been keeping. Now it's time to go into the palette. But anyway, back to the story. I just slammed my finger. Oh my God, I literally just effing broke out the palette. Slamming that shit. Somebody kept telling me, get off the damn counters and sinks, get your ass down. I think I need to get another cat or like another kitten for her because she's acting very bizarre. She's just like bored. And the other day I caught her like standing on the counter, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? She never stands on the counter. Like, she knows better. She's been trained. Like, me and her father trained her really well when we first got her not to get on the counters or the table or anything like that. Like, she knows. She never comes up for food or anything like this. But for whatever reason, the other day, this bitch was on the counters. The other reason why Stacy also didn't want to come forward is because basically it would just be her word against Marie's, which... what good is that? They were both very young. They were both teenage girls. Maybe the police would just think that she was making it up. Stephen Robards' death was already ruled an accident at this point, so Stacy would just look crazy coming forward, saying all of this stuff without any real proof, just like claims basically. She just felt like it wasn't really believable, and probably people would not believe her. But eventually the pressure became too much for Stacy to handle, and she told her mother and her high school counselor what she knew. After recounting to her mother and her school counselor about, what Marie had told her, they took her to the police station. She gave investigators the whole lowdown. She told them everything she knew. She told them she couldn't take it anymore. She knew everything. Marie had confessed to her. She finally got it off of her chest and did the right thing. Can you just imagine the pressure that was released from this young girl when she finally got this secret off her chest? After Stacy informed police officers of what Marie had told her, they didn't just believe her right away. They didn't just take her word for it, They had to obviously investigate. So they went back to the old high school to search the chemistry lab to see if they could find any evidence that may have been left behind, because they weren't just going to take Stacy's word for it. They needed to have evidence that what she was saying was true. And investigators found a page with the poison that Marie supposedly used on her father, torn out of one of the textbooks in the chemistry lab. So this was some circumstantial evidence. The page informed the reader on how to use the toxic substance, what not to do with it, what poison people, I don't know, what to do with it. It just gave a lot of information on how it should be used, a lot of the warnings. So investigators began to wonder why the substance didn't show up in Steve Robards' autopsy report. They didn't find it in his system because they didn't find his death suspicious at the time. Although the coroner was skeptical, he wasn't suspicious enough. There wasn't a substantial amount of evidence to point to anything else. So they didn't bring in a forensic pathologist at that time to look at the body. There is a difference between a coroner and a forensic pathologist. I explain it in some of my other videos. If you've been here for a while, then you probably already know, because I've explained it in my other videos. But for the newcomers here, a coroner is the person who gets the body initially, and they just make the very basic kind of examination of the cause of death and stuff like that. And if they don't see anything or they don't find anything suspicious, there's no reason to call in a forensic pathologist or a medical examiner to do a second check. The only reason a forensic pathologist or a medical examiner will come in to do that second check, that second examination, is because the original coroner found something suspicious about the death in the first place. And in this case, that coroner couldn't find enough substantial evidence to point to anything being, foul play or anything like that. It all pointed to a heart attack or from natural causes. So this is the reason why why this whole thing went unnoticed and no one really looked into the fact that it could be poison or anything else. Thus, the test that could have detected the poison was never performed. A 16-year-old little girl getting over on y'all like that. Plus, the medical examiners would have needed a very expensive machine to see traces of it in Steven's system. The machine was called a mass spectrometer gas chromatograph, and it was $150,000. Now, the crazy thing is, like I said, Marie had been studying to be a pathologist, and she had actually worked with the local medical examiners, which is crazy. The murderer is working with the medical examiners. She is studying to be a pathologist. She's right there with them. I mean, am I the only one to feel like this 16-year-old girl, that Marie, a 16-year-old girl, is probably one of the smartest criminals that I've had so far? Investigators theorize that she was familiar with the tests the medical examiners ran during the autopsy report and the tests that he didn't run. That's how she would have been able to pick the perfect poison for her father. At this time, it would have been 18 months into Steve Robards' death, so a year and a half. So investigators were hoping that there was still viable tissue samples that they would be able to test and get some results from. At this point, quite a bit of time had passed, and there might not have been any more of the chemical in his tissue samples. The medical examiner happened to be within days of destroying Stephen Robards' tissue samples, so they were lucky that they were able to, get a hold of something. Otherwise, if they had waited any longer, this case may have gone unsolved. Medical examiners routinely dispose of human remains whose deaths were deemed accidental or of natural causes after a while. Luckily, investigators were able to get in contact with the coroner's office in time. They got Stephen's tissue samples and they sent them to the forensics lab for testing. Now, the poison Marie chose to use was a metallic substance and it was very, very rare. So the forensic scientists ran their test and the test showed that Stephen had a significant amount of this poisonous substance in his tissue. In fact, he had 28 times the lethal dose. Not 2 times, not 3 times, not 10 times. 28 times the lethal dose. She knew what she was doing. She wasn't playing games, y'all. She was not playing games. At this point, investigators finally had the solid evidence they needed to make their arrest. Officers arrested Marie at the University of Texas in October of 1994. I just wonder, what the family thought about this. What does her mother think about this? And almost immediately after arriving at the police station, Marie confessed. Marie was forthcoming with detectives and she gave them a detailed account on her father's murder. She told them everything. She didn't hold anything back. She was crying the entire time. I actually feel really sorry for Stacy because Stacy's life was kind of ruined by this because she actually had to think about it for a really long time, And I do feel bad for Stacy. When asked why she killed her father, what her motive was, Marie told investigators that it was because she wanted to live with her mother and she had been sent to live with her father. So she felt like if her father was dead, she would be able to live with her mom because Marie really, really loved her mom. All of her life, she just wanted her mom's affection. She wanted her mother's love and attention. That just goes to show you the effect that divorce has on children. And I'm sure we all know, sometimes it just can't be avoided. You can't foresee your partner becoming an absolute jerk. You know what I mean? And you having to divorce them. You can't foresee that. It's something you can't really protect your children from. Another shitty thing that Marie's mother did was that she moved to Florida with her new husband and left Marie behind. That is the reason why she was sent to live with her grandparents. And her mother didn't even tell her that she was leaving until after her father's funeral when she had already moved with her new boyfriend or husband to Florida. I mean, that's just crazy. All due to divorce. So what? I don't know. Don't get married. Shit. I don't know. No, I'm not saying that. Get married if you want to, but just think about that when you get married. Despite her confession, Marie would go on to plead not guilty in court, even though she confessed, her friend confessed, and now this bitch is pleading not guilty. Girl, at this point, you're busted. Just take the punishment. Marie was now claiming that she gave her father the poison just to make him sick. She didn't intend on killing him. She didn't know that it would kill him. She just wanted to get him sick enough so that he wouldn't be able to care for her and she would be returned to her mother. But prosecutors argued that since Marie used 30 times the lethal dose, that there was no way she wasn't planning on killing him. She knew what she was doing. In court, they showed that she had straight A's in chemistry and that basically she was well on her way of becoming a pathologist. So she was a very intelligent girl. She knew exactly what she was doing. And the jury, they bought it. Prosecutors also pointed out to the jury that when Stephen was dying, Marie was just sitting to the side silently. She wasn't trying to help him. She wasn't crying. She wasn't acting like an upset daughter or like a grieving daughter. She was just sitting there off to the sides while the paramedics were there and watching. As Steven was laying there dying, Marie never at any point informed the paramedics, Steven, or his girlfriend of what she had done. She could have stopped it then. He wasn't dead when the paramedics arrived. He died moments later. But she never at any point spoke up and told anyone what she had done. She didn't say a thing because she intended on killing that man. That's why she didn't say nothing. If Marie would have spoken up, she could have saved her father's life at that time. Thanks to forensic science and some good police work, in 1995, Marie was convicted of murder and sentenced to 27 years in prison. Marie was released on parole in 2003. It is believed that she is living under a new alias, a new identity, and has started her life over. In 2018, Steve Robards' story was fictionalized into a novel called Give Me Your Hand. His murder is also recounted in an episode of Deadly Women. What did you guys think about this case and my makeup look? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like these, you can check out my other episodes. I'll leave them linked on the screen right here or right here. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please share because it really helps me out. And I'll see you guys next time with another true crime story time. Bye!